So good morning everyone. आप सबों को सादर नमस्कार और ILM यूनिवर्सिटी की तरफ से मैं हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ. Today I take the opportunity to welcome our guest Professor Maitri, Director IIM Nagpur, who has taken out his precious time from his busy schedule to guide us on innovative approaches in management education. The topic which we have chosen for the FDP, Advanced and Innovative Approaches in Management Education, is important, relevant for all of us as faculty, facilitator, and mentor. The highly mutable nature of 21st century corporate world and the rapid advances in technology necessitate a new and innovative approach to management education in India.
Very good morning, respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Sujata Shahi, ILM University, Admission Chair Rahul Misra ji, and this program, Atal Coordinator Dr. Saima Rizvi, all the distinguished faculty members of ILM University, and distinguished participants of this Atal program. So technology earlier used to be there in a R&D laboratory. If you go back, maybe Professor Sujata ma'am and my time when we were the kids, technology used to be there in R&D labs. Technology used to be there in specific labs and we used to go and see. Today, technology has entered into all the schools, colleges, universities. Not only school, college, university, technology has reached to our drawing room. And today, technology has reached our bedroom to our brain.
So if you look at this MBA program, and I consider two institutions are very seminal in their existence in the world. The one is the Harvard Business School. The Harvard Business School came into existence in 1908, So there's always a fight between the Wharton and Harvard which came first. But so Harvard Business School, 1908. And they started that MBA program for the large businesses in US.
Sir, all this new education policy looks very, very inclusive and integrated. But one thing that comes to my mind is to how the universities or how the institutions are really going to afford so many professionals who will be delivering these skill sets. Suppose a university like ours, we are a national law university. So suppose we have to teach technology. So how do we afford a professional to come into the university and teach technology, music? Because we also have to offer those courses to all. So will it not escalate the cost of the institutions and will it not make it?
The basic purpose of assessment is to enhance learning. And that's what this session is all about. We talk about when we discuss assessment, we talk about two major kinds of assessment. One is the formative assessment and the other is the summative assessment. What is important to understand as teachers for us is to know what is their respective role. Both play a very significant role and the roles are different. So we need to understand if there is a particular role we need to play for our assessment to play, what kind of item would go into whether formative or summative assessment. Similarly, the tools would also be depending upon what is the role we want a certain assessment activity to play for you. The third is, to my own mind, the most important outcome if we can get it done.
This is one slide which I would just display in the beginning because I want to revisit it again. This is purely in context of ILM University, but I'm sure each one of you working at some of the other university or institute have this particular heading slide in your mind, and you all could visit this vision and mission statement in your own institute's website also. Why this is crucial? Because this is the point where we begin framing our program learning goals, which lead to a robust curriculum development, which leads to the maximum of the outcome, assessment, and ultimately our crucial goal that what student would like to achieve. So a very simple question is, what exactly is program learning goal? If I say in a simple manner, it's student statement of long range intended outcome of program and curriculum. We have an MBA program, you probably have a master's program, an MTech program. Each of them have a long range intended outcome. What do you want your student to pick up?
So based on that, for each question, we are mapping what is the weightage and whether the student has been able to demonstrate that level of attainment. So instead of just looking at it at the student level, we can look at it for a whole class. What has been the level of attainment for that particular outcome and the linked program outcome to that attainment. And then based on that, we will have to take a review whether we have fallen short or we have been able to accomplish whatever was our target attainment, or we have outperformed it, in which case we need to now recalibrate the standards of expectation next time. And if we have fallen short, we need to take again corrective measures. For the batch itself, maybe the subsequent semester, again, there will be greater focus on POs which they have not been able to do well on. Whereas for the faculty, when we are going to again deliver the same course to another batch, we will have to again recalibrate what went wrong, and find out how to again improve on the attainment level. If we have
So curriculum, so today's theme as we conclude is on curriculum development, and curriculum for B schools, we know that is a very, very dynamic content, and not just in terms of content, but innovative assessment is also included in the same. And we start with taking 360-degree feedback from all the stakeholders, starting from recruiters to students. For the students, it can be midway feedback and then end of the course feedback. Then also we approach industry expert to take their feedback to make the content industry ready and make our graduates employable.
What we are going to do today is talk about an area which not only is close to, it should be close to any teacher, but also I think it is of importance, relevance, and very, very critical as far as management teachers are concerned, because we are most of the times taking subjects which students have ready material available on the internet.
So I think teacher has to play a very important role when it comes to strengthening those engaging chords, especially in the changing times where the learning styles of students have changed. The technology has created so much of havoc that what we used to do in traditional methods of teaching in the class, that teaching method has moved from teaching to facilitating. Today, the students come more informed than the teachers themselves, and the role of teacher in a class has completely changed. And I tell it to my faculty as well that it's not about the teaching, it's about the facilitating inside the class. So a teacher has to be more empathetic while planning and preparing for handling the students.
So the co-curricular activities speak about the activities that are outside the classroom but complementing the regular curriculum. These activities are actually a part of all the instructional programs that we are having. Full involvement of the teaching staff is there in these activities, and on the other hand, extracurricular activities are defined college-based activities that are not tied up to the curriculum directly. Now, again, I said directly, but indirectly, we ensure that they are tied up. Here at our university, we do ensure that even if they are not directly tied up, then indirectly it should be tying up. How does that happen now? As we will be moving forward, I will be telling you, speaking about some activities that will make you understand that how do we ensure that this is an extracurricular activity, but then directly, indirectly, it is actually tied up with the curriculum itself.
Us as a faculty, because that's very important for me to understand, because I'm making future in the classrooms. If I am tensed as a teacher, I am stressed as a teacher, I am not able to convey organized behavior, disciplined behavior in my class, whatever I am teaching, whether I am a science teacher, whether I am a social science teacher, whether I am a engineering professor, whether I'm a psychology professor, whether I'm management, it doesn't matter. You are conveying your student beyond your topic which you are teaching. So as a behavioral science expert, I keep on telling people who are working with me that your behavior is a value-driven lessons to the class when you are teaching. We don't have to have a values class separately. Maybe in schools, but in college, universities, now we have extra courses on values and behavioral skills that we need to understand because we don't have that much time to teach separately.
So let's discuss. Again, definitely you all are saying that how it's going to be helpful in higher education if we are talking about industry engagement. Now, when we start talking about industry engagement, it involves a variety of arenas. In few you have already spoken. So basically, industry engagement is an effort. It's a process where we try to bring corporations and the world of academia together for mutual benefit. You scratch my back, I will scratch yours. So I will give you something and return, definitely I am expecting something in return.
So what I want to cover today, because it's focused more on the future skills of the resources we're talking about, the students and others. So what I'm going to cover is I will spend some time on how are the business models are evolving as we speak, because that understanding is prime facie important to understand what these new business models are and how organizations or corporates are changing and how the change is going to look like.
Has total knowledge of marketplace and everything is necessary to help you be successful. We also have Gary Lewis. He is the master of ceremonies behind the scenes in terms of being able to move you to the proper breakout rooms and make sure you are logged in with your teammates in the right location. He has a wonderful voice. He has a radio voice you'll come to love. And we also have Kelly Ellenberg. She is responsible for the marketplace marketing activities and has helped with the organization of this event. And so there are 3 of 20 staff that we have in Marketplace, and they're all really quite capable and wonderful people.
All the accreditation agencies, government are focusing upon experiential learning or learning by doing kind of thing. So which train or which gives the participants and the learner an opportunity to learn in a better way, because they experience it, they live it, and then they feel confident about their learning. And when it is necessary in their life or the professional decision-making process, they are comfortably able to use those learnings.
So case method of teaching give them a situation which is real life, and it puts them in some complex decision-making situation. It asks them to, put themselves in the shoes of the main character protagonist and take decisions, right? Therefore, as an instructor, your role is very important because you have to actually select the case for your course very, very carefully.
Okay, now many of times they give a lot of liberalism, and even when we correct the students' case studies, when they answer it on the test, so they would have given their own perspective. Maybe sometimes they would have gone out of the case itself, and so there is a lot of information. If you go through books, like it could be from some other source of information, or from the newspapers, or from magazines, or anything happening in the business world. Okay, and what I've seen in most of the books is they say that there is no right answer and there's no wrong answer. It only totally depends on your analysis.
Role play, ideally, as I've been repeatedly saying, is about a method that we use for classroom instructions, where the onus comes onto the learners, the students in our case, right? And the school, all these students are assigned various roles, different characters, which are predefined. A role play, in fact, interestingly, a role play could be done even with one single student. He could be given, he could be asked to be in the shoes of a particular, hypothetical character, and then, asked to really play the role of a scenario that we may be sharing with him, and how he would really go about it.
I just start with a very old saying. I think you all are aware about Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Deva Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Salutations to the Guru, who is Brahma, the creator, the Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. I bow before the Guru, who is the personification of the Trinity. I think you all are here sitting as a Guru to someone, and we are proud that we have interacted with n number of talent and learned people during this faculty development program. So Sudhir, Mr. Sudhir has discussed about digital skills for marketing graduates, n number of skills which we can think and which we can train our students. I heard about simulation. Professor Cadot, it's like he developed that simulation, and that simulation actually give us the actual practices of one organization, how to invest money, how to recruit people from starting scratch to the outcome where we can go for product development, product outcome, revenue generation, everything. So without taking much of time, I hope that you had a wonderful learning odyssey and would effectively implement some of these learnings in your courses and organizations. At the end, I can say, cultivating a culture of continual learning will benefit all aspects of education system. And you all are here, top minds, good minds. We can help the current education system to improve in a better way. Once again, thank you for joining ILM, and all the best for your future endeavor. Thank you.